Welcome everyone to Salt&Light Family Night. My name is Carol and I'm going to toggle over to my slide now. Can everybody see my slide okay?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So tonight we are talking about the issue of bullying. Very glad that you are all here. And sometimes you don't get to talk about this issue, and when we have to deal with it, we don't really know how best to support our children, or if it happens to us, we don't really know how to deal with it. So tonight we're going to hear from a panel of diverse experiences. And so let me introduce first ourselves as co-hosts. My name is Carol. I'm very happy to be able to co-host this Salt&Light Family Night with Alex since last year. I'm a mother of two girls. My older one is 19. My younger girl is 16. My husband Albert and I are just doing our very best to raise them joyfully. So very glad to be here. Alex?
Yes, thank you, Carol. And thank you guys for tuning in tonight. That's our family. We've got 3 children, 2 boys, age 9 and 8, and the girl is age 6. I'm a homeschooling dad in the morning, and in the afternoon and the rest of the day, we're into impact investing as well, using enterprise to alleviate poverty. Thank you.
This evening, we are very glad to have 3 panel members with us to discuss this issue about bullying. Starting from the left, we have Mr. Chong Ee Jay, who is the Deputy Head of FamChamps Singapore. He is also a counsellor, and every day he works with young people. And he himself has gone through a journey, which he would share with us later tonight. And we also have Jocelin. Jocelin is a mother of 2 who has journeyed with her daughter, who has gone through a season of being bullied. And she would share with us what are some of the things that she has done to support her daughter. And at the same time now, she's actually also supporting other parents who may have similar issues, trying to support their children in this area. Last but not least, we have Mr. Andrew Kang. He is a former vice principal in a school, and he has left the education service, and he runs Tcher Online, which is an online portal for learning. So we are very glad to have the 3 of them sharing their very personal and deep experience. So really, I hope that this can be a safe space for us to explore this topic together. Tonight's session will be recorded and it will be available on Salt&Light's YouTube channel from next Friday, and all our past episodes are also on Salt&Light's YouTube channel, and I will share with you the link at the end of the session. The chat function in Zoom will be turned off so that we can focus on the conversation. Okay, and then all our questions can be submitted through Slido, this tool called Slido. If you see the QR code there, you can use a separate device, scan the QR code, and it would bring you to a poll. Okay, yeah, it will bring you to a poll. Do you see? Okay, I'll be talking over to Slido soon. Let me just show you. Are you able to see the poll on your device? Okay, just let me get over to Slido. Okay, can you see it now on the screen? All right. Okay, so if you have just joined us, this is a poll that we are running on a tool called Slido. What you see on the screen is the live poll that we are doing now. You see the QR code on the left. You can scan the QR code on a separate device and you will be able to take part in the poll. It's on the poll tab once you are on Slido. Okay, if you have one device, it's okay. Go to your browser. Right, go to slido.com and the event name is Family Night, and then you'll be able to see the poll. Okay, so we are just trying to get to know one another. Who else is in the room with us tonight? We have 123 people in the room tonight discussing about this topic. Okay, so some of us are here in general to just learn about this topic. Quite a few of us, quite a lot of us actually are also in position of authority, whether you are a teacher, a counselor, or in church where the people around you, maybe you are working with young people and they come to you and talk about this topic. Okay, quite a lot of us also have got family members or colleague who was or is being bullied. Some of us actually have got our own story as well. And thank you for those who have are also very honest to say that I am a bully or I was a bully. Actually, there are research have shown also that a lot of bullies, sometimes they themselves have been bullied as well. And then they try to, have that sense of power by bullying others. Yeah. So thank you for being honest, the 2%. All right. So 64 of us have responded to this question. Thank you very much. One more question in the poll before we go over to have a conversation with our panel. Okay, zooming in on bullying, right? What kind of bullying have you or someone you know experienced? So it could be verbal. Okay, so quite a lot of verbal. That means they call people names, or it could be social, where like, I don't want to friend you, or I don't want you to be in my WhatsApp group chat. I will create other group chats to talk about you, right? So that could be social. There's cyberbullying as well, right? Where there are some people who create specific, Instagram account just to attack someone, or specific groups to talk about some people, or even sending messages that are inappropriate, right? Of course, then there's also physical bullying, where pushing and so on, right? So majority seems to be verbal, so calling names, unkind words spoken to one another, and quite a lot on social, right? Thank you for the 56 or 59 who have taken part in the poll. And if you have already made your choice, you would see also in the Q&A tab, and that's where you can start to put your question already, and you can also vote on one another's question as well. All right. So thank you so much. 60 of us have 62, and it's coming some more, right? For those who have just joined us, we are running a live poll now. You see the QR code on the top left corner, and that is where you can scan a QR code. Let me just admit a few more people. Yep, and then you can take part in the poll. All right, thank you so much. You can start to key in your questions in there as well. All right, okay, so thank you so much for participating in the poll. And now let me go back to my slide and over to you, Alex.
Sure, yeah. Tonight's topic is a very tender one, and I couldn't help when I was preparing for this topic to really feel the sort of anguish and despondency that some victims of bullying must feel. And I wondered, what part of God's word should we highlight? We ended up picking a very familiar passage, but one that contains an idea that I feel is well worth reminding all of us about. It's this idea of mercy. And if you're like me, you might think of it more as withholding punishment, but I love the way our Lord used it here. And it's more than withholding punishment, it also serves to act as concrete acts of compassion. And this very familiar verse from Luke chapter 10. So which of these three do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he said, he who showed mercy on him. Then Jesus said to him, go and do likewise. And again, a very recurrent topic that our Lord talked about in Matthew 12, verse 7. But if you had known what this means, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. So I love this idea of mercy as concrete actions of compassion, of action, of things that we do to love our neighbor, including victims of those who may be subject to bullying, as well as to the bullies who are acting from a place of insecurity. So with that, I thought we will get going, and I want to try and direct the first question to Jocelin. Jocelin's a mother, and in fact, how she got connected to this whole conversation was Carol had a friend whose daughter was being helped by Jocelin and her daughter, and lo and behold, Jocelin and her daughter had gone through a whole episode of bullying as well. And Jocelin, I was wondering if you're able to share with us your journey. Yes.
Yeah. Hi, I have two daughters. Elder one is 27 and the younger one is 21. And today I'm sharing is my younger girl, how she experienced during her school days in secondary schools. Jane, my younger daughter Jana was being found as a slow learner when she was in her primary 3. She has difficulty she learned things very slowly, and I do not realize that she's a slow learner until when I saw her results. And I'm glad that her teachers actually analyze her and being found that she's a very visual learner. So the school teacher encouraged us to engage her with some activity that can help her to focus and repetitive, so it will help her to speed up her learning. And we found that bowling is one of her passion and her interests. So she started bowling since she was a primary 4, and she was even engaged into a JSA program. In the past, they are called the Junior Sports Academy, because after going through audition, they found that they have this talent in bowling. So when she was engaged in this bowling, well, she thinks it's a dream because she always hoped to enter into sports schools. But too bad, during the audition, she managed to be in GSA program for 2 years, but didn't manage to get into sports schools. It was quite a blow, a failure for her that she felt, and but she's able to go through a DSA program to a secondary schools where bowling is one of the major CCA, and but we thought it's a start of a very happy journey, but actually the nightmare comes where, because being DSA to a school with sports talents, people, they will start to look on to you. You must be very good in the sports. That's why you get a sport. But Jana didn't compete much in primary schools. There's no track record that she's good in this in bowling. So there is totally 4 students get into the school while DSA program. So the other 3 came from the same school, and she's the only one that is coming from different schools. So they start chatting why this girl is in this school. There's no background. She didn't win any tournaments in primary schools, and they start to gossip a lot. And to her, because her primary schools is a more a Chinese background, so getting into total English speaking schools is like a culture shock to her. So when she was there, nobody talked to her. They isolate her on one thing. They always comment on her bowling style is ugly. She don't have enough equipment for bowlers. They usually have different balls, but my daughter barely has less than 3 balls when she's in Sec 1. So they never thought that she's good until when she joined a secondary school league, which is 2 months after when the school started in Sec 1. And she did very well. Fortunately and unfortunately, she got 4th in the finals, where the other friends or team members, none of them get into the finals. So this kind of people, the others will start chatting group together, saying that, she's lucky, or because coach spent a lot of time guiding her, and we don't have coach to help us. That's why we don't do well. And this get more and more intense until when she cried every day when I sent her to school. Then she would tell me, "Mommy, can I don't go to school?" But I was saying, "No, you have to be." And later, then I realized actually she got this kind of treatment. And it was very sad, and she feels so insecure. Her self-esteem went so low. And every day she asked me, "Am I someone that is a nuisance, or do I have not likable by people?" But and plus she has a hard time coping her studies. So but she managed to endure. And every day we told her, pray for, because God answers to prayer. And through prayer, God will use his method to show you the miracles. And though it's a very hard things to go through, but I think it helps me and her through this journey to bond very closely. I'm like her #1 fans. Whenever she has a competition, I'll be there to give her my fullest support.
Thank you,
And
Jocelyn.
yeah.
Yeah. And how is Jenna doing now?
She's in university year 2 now, though it's not really a smooth journey, but I saw her persevere, and she actually she walked through all the difficulties she has. Though may not be really bright, she didn't get into schools of her liking, but she managed to get into the course that she wanted.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing, Jocelyn. Thank you for sharing her journey. If I could now invite EJ to share your story. EJ, I know that you have also gone through a journey yourself, and now you're working with young people every day. How has your journey impacted you, in a sense that, like, how does it impact what you do now? Would you like to share with us, please?
Sure. Thanks, Carol and Alex, for inviting me to this session. I guess we talk about this bullying. It still is very fresh on my mind, even though it happened, I mean, 25, 30 years ago. So I guess in a way, as I look back on hindsight, it really, gave me a heart for the underdogs, gave me a heart for people who are being marginalized, because of bullying, fat shame in every way, of just similar experiences that we've gone through. Yeah, so for me, I've been bullied many instances since primary through to secondary school during my schooling days. So I grew up being a very chubby boy. Yeah, so horizontally very gifted in a sense. So in a sense, like a sumo size kid, and you can read my story on Salt&Light channel for full details. But so being, okay, I shall not hide the word, but being fat. All right, back then we never knew there's this term called fat shaming, right? But it was how it was. So you often get teased, bullied by your classmates. You are running about, walking in class, people will stick their legs out to purposely trip you. And when you're on the floor, they don't help you. They will further jeer you and call you names. So I grew up listening to all the kind of names, yeah, fatty bom bom, fei zai, and all those kind of thing. And it grew so sad to a point where I felt that because I wanted to be accepted by the community of people, I endured the bullying, just so to be socially accepted, to be part of the group that plays football, to be accepted as a community of friends, so that was a huge part of my primary school years. But I kept silent because I felt that there wasn't anybody who could help me. I told my parents, but they would just tell me, say, it's part and parcel of life lah, just grow up with it, suck it up, live it up. All right. When I went to secondary school, I thought it would be better because I went to a school that was further away from my primary school. So hopefully I distanced myself away from the bullies. All right. But lo and behold, it didn't turn out that way. Secondary school still came with its own sets of bullying. I was often teased and laughed at because of my size again. Of course, by then I had ballooned bigger. And I still love soccer. And I candidly shared, before that, because I wanted to be socially accepted, I would play football with the bullies, those who jeered me, laughed at me. And the favorite position they'll always play me in during the game was goalkeeper, because the size of my waist would cover the goal line enough to block the ball from going in. So yeah, everybody loves me in their team, not because I was a good scorer, but I was a fatty bom bom to be a good goalkeeper. Yeah, so but I think very traumatic during secondary school, during those early years, was when I recall on my way home from school, I would get bullied by people outside of my school. So on my way home, I would actually have to pass by HDB blocks, and I recall many instances where there will be this bunch of bigger boys from other schools. They would surround me, push me to the floor, taunt me, laugh at me. They weren't out for anything. They weren't there to rob me or anything, but they just want to make me feel lousy and little while they feel good in a sense. Yeah. So and because of those trauma, I think there was a few months, a season of my time in secondary school where I changed my route home just to avoid them. So I had to go a big detour just to reach home. Things got better, of course, in JC and all that. But by the time in campus, in university, I had another episode of bullying where I get bullied because, now not because of my size, but because people were jealous of me. They generally felt I'm a well-liked person, nice person, but they didn't like the attention I was getting. And so bullied me. So this was cyberbullying. By this time, we had Friendster in those days, and somebody created imposter account and wrote nasty things on other people's account as well. Yeah, so I had to endure that. But I think I really thank God that there was something good that came out of this, because I think by the time I had my faith to undergird me, and it was through one of the seminars or session in church, in a conference kind of setting, where I encountered God myself, and told me to come back to do a sort of like a reconciliation with the bully. Yeah. Was a big step, and everybody thought I was crazy. Why would you even do such a thing? But fast forward the story, I'm privileged and proud, honestly, to tell you that I made up with the bully. We are friends. I even attended his wedding. Yeah, so it's not all doom and gloom, I would say. But I would say really at the younger days, when I didn't know how to handle and I was still young and maturing, it was really tough going through those situations. And that made me better empathize with the young people that I work with today in schools who face and endure bullying, online, offline. And I could relate a lot with some of their experiences and better mentor, counsel, guide them in their journey. Yeah.
Amazing. EJ, thank you for sharing so vulnerably your story. I've got a question. Did you ever foresee that you're going to be as trim and suave today?
I thank you for the compliment, Alex. Never ever thought so, but I must say, maybe those years of bullying did have a kind of nudge me to trim down myself, because when I went to JC, junior college, I told myself I never want to experience those people jeering me about my weight, my size anymore. So I made that internal, there was that drive within me to want to slim down, and to do much more things, rather than be trapped by my past. So I would say JC has been the best part of my life, because I had wonderful friends who understood me, and I thrived then. Yeah. So a lot of people tend to say, secondary school days is the most fun, but for me, it was really the JC day, because I looked good and I felt good as well then.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, jokes aside, I think all that season has left you, as you said, this heart for underdogs, and that's what you're doing right now. And what a wonderful resolution to it all.
Thank you.
We'll come to Andrew. Andrew, I love speaking with you. You've got such a rich experience and such a suitable person also to add to this conversation tonight. Not only were you a vice principal, you were a discipline master, right? So you see many incidences, and you are also a father. You're a father of 4. I was reading through Slido, and a couple of questions already posted on. So whoever else has any more questions, please go to Slido and post your questions there. But the 2 questions there, even, I feel like you will be in a good position to help enlighten us. But just starting off, you're a father of 4 children and former VP, like we said. How do you deal with the issue of bullying? as a father and an educator, someone in authority? What are some similarities and differences?
Okay, thank you, Alex, for the introduction, and also thank you, Carol, for inviting me here, and the panelists, and also good evening, parents. Yes, as a dad of four kids, I have four children, 18, 16, 14, and 11. So I don't really have a lot of experience that my, kids come back home and then complain to me the bullies and all that. Don't really have very specific or very serious incidents. It could be we are closely knitted and they are able to manage, and could be they have a lot of self-confidence and they were not victimized, so to speak. So I think that helps. So I think the first thing I would say is, as parents, to really give everything that we have to build self-confidence, assurance, and also be very close with our kids. And definitely the first thing is my relationship with my wife has to be really rock solid. It's not perfect. We have gone through a lot of hard times and difficulties and challenges, but we also demonstrate to them that we are committed to each other, we respect each other, and so because of that, they do have certain kind of security, and so they appear confident at school, or at least do not appear so weak that people will want to bully them. I could only remember one incident where my son told me about a boy saying not very nice things about him at school, about his appearance and about him losing things. And I think my advice for parents is to always, number one, believe in what he's saying. And number two, I think I could be seen very overprotective, but the next day I actually went to look for the teacher and say there's a boy who did this to my son. But I do it in a very appropriate manner. I'm not there to bully the boy, right? We heard of incidences when the dad went to confront the boy himself. So I will not do that. Actually, what I'm trying to do is I jump upon this opportunity to be able to represent him. So because he came to me and told me about this incident, I'm not really there to talk to the boy or complain to the teacher. I'm there to demonstrate to him that daddy is always there for you. So I seized the opportunity instead of, oh, I don't really have time, just brush it aside. I took that chance to say, okay, I'll meet you in school the next day, and then I'll just go into just talk to your teacher. By the very act actually helps him a lot. Okay, and then another incident is about a teacher. The teacher always pick on him because he asks a lot of questions, and sometimes he tries to be a bit smart, question the teacher's back about the things that the teacher is teaching, and he will like ask a question, is it correct? I read it's a bit different from what you are teaching, So the teacher is really, really offended. And so anyway, to cut the long story short, I also went to see the teacher that, why you're always picking on my son. So actually, teachers at school can actually pick on our kids. So be careful and wary of that also. As a former vice principal, we know that certain teachers are really caring. One or two teachers, sometimes they are insecure and they can go overboard, things that they say. So if the teacher say things that are very not very good, and they come back to tell you about it, do something about it. Write an email to him or her instead of going to the VP or the P. But at least take some action and say, Mr. San, I think my son told me that today he said something not really nice and he really, really hurt. So always take some action so that he knows that you're someone he can always trust. If not, then it's very, very difficult for your child. Okay, shall I go on about the school?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So as I was a teacher and then a subject head for sports, and then after that I was a HOD for Pupil Management. So it's a discipline master. So yes, I've managed. And I think Doris is here, right? Doris is actually from my former school. So I was actually a discipline master in the school. I've managed many, I'll say really many cases in terms of discipline issues, bullying cases for sure. So I have spoken to the bullies, I've counseled the bullies, I've caned a few bullies, or I wouldn't say many, but quite a number of bullies. Whether they get into fight, they use vulgarity at teachers, or they ostracize or say very, very bad things about a particular friend. Could be hitting the child or hitting the friend, can be a fellow classmate, could be someone in the lower secondary, younger, could be someone older, because if you're big size and all that, you find someone who's of smaller size, but he's actually older. So actually, I have seen many, many cases from boys bully to girls, bullying girls, or girls bullying boys, like pinching until really blue-black. So girls can actually bully boys by pulling their hair, hitting them, pinching, scratching the boys. So it's always not gender bias on, okay? Then for boys, pulling pulling girls' hair in school, I will not allow, and I will stand in front of the school and to address these issues as a discipline master. And then after that, as a VP, I will actually, I shared Alex this afternoon, that I will make a declaration. I will announce in a public announcement that no bullying is allowed in this school. You will not be able to do this. The school will come after you. The school does, then I'll give an example. Like, for example, even boys pulling girls' hair as and when you like, and as long as the girls feel uncomfortable, as long as there's some physical kind of hurt, it is bullying. So I think it's always good for person and people of authority as parents or as school leaders or teachers to publicly declare that this is the line, so that the children are very clear. Because sometimes it's not entirely the fault of the kids or the students. It's just nobody told me, nobody is clear. This teacher or this, sometimes I tell my parents say it's bully, sometimes they say, oh, just brush it aside. So there's too many or too much gray areas, then it's really very insecure for the children or the students. Yeah, so I have managed many cases of bullying, and then talking to the bullies and the victims, and as counseling, and even scolding a few parents along the way. So I can give you some examples maybe later on. Yeah. So there's a lot of need for school leaders, discipline masters, teachers to take their position and to make things very clear. So for parents, I would advise that go and see the teacher, write an email to the teacher first. If it doesn't get any response, you can always write to the head of department or write straight to the VP or the principal. If you find that your child is being bullied, my advice is definitely you must take action. Okay, but sometimes I know the teacher may not have time, they're very busy, or they don't think that it's very serious. Then you feel not very good if you go to the head of department, because this teacher is bypassing her. I would say, as a former school leader and even as a parent now, please do not feel any kind of bad feeling that you are like going round, and then because you have told this teacher and then she's not taking any action for whatever reason, you have to go to another higher authority, because now is your child, being victimized, and the action is either not taken or too slow or not done in the right manner. So don't feel shy, feel bad if you have to, speak to someone else. Of course, don't go to the extreme. You don't even, share your concern with the teacher and then you go straight to the principal, or go to MCare, complain to the ministry. So there's still a kind of a line, to go to the next stage and all that. But sometimes the first cut, your form teacher is not able to do anything, the bullying continues, you can see the discipline master, and then the VP, and then the P.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew, for teaching us how to escalate an issue where necessary. Yeah, and so if I could now go over to Slido and pose the first question. I think it's related to what Andrew was sharing also. Perhaps if I could ask Andrew, and after that, EJ could weigh in on this as well, on how do you teach a 12-year-old to better handle taunting or bullying by his friends, because it's affecting his self-esteem. So for 12-year-old boys, sometimes they talk to each other. How can you tell whether it's just joking, or is it really bullying? And how do you teach the boys to self-defense, or how do you guide a 12-year-old? Andrew first, and perhaps after that, EJ.
Okay, I think as a father, I have a 11-year-old right now. So I have taught him to be able to be resilient. So it's not like as a parent, I have to jump at everything. Because sometimes at school, they being boys, they will get remarks and all that. So I will definitely weigh and allow him to also be sensitive and to, in a sense, yeah, the word escalate, whether he wants it to escalate to like daddy's position. Because when he tells me something and I find I have to judge that it's quite serious now, then I have to take certain action. If it's just one passing remark, Daniel, you're like, so playful and all that. So far, I think the things that you have told me, I wouldn't say it's bullying. It's more like trying to, make fun of each other. But if I sense any difference in, let's say one day he comes there and he cries and something has happened, then I would definitely stand up for him. So I think my way of doing it is, yeah, he has to also be resilient, be self-confident. But I have told him several times that never accept if any friend use vulgarity at you or say something that is really, really very hurtful, you should not accept it. You must tell daddy. So I am the figure behind him, always there. If he needs, he will come to me and get some protection or get some advice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I really love Andrew's response, and I just want to add on a little bit more. Is I think that question is very weighty question, but I think we need to, for a 12-year-old to be able to pull connect the dots and to understand a few things. I think what is the behavior that he or she is upset by? I mean, for this 12-year-old child, what part of the action that this so-called bully did upsets you, a little bit of honest reflection, evaluation. And I think it's a good opportunity to ask things like, so why would you call it bullying? And how is self-esteem being affected? I'm asking these questions not in a form of like doubting the child, but it's also helping the child to gain clarity. Like what Andrew said earlier, sometimes it's not really bullying, but it's not just that, boys being boys, they just make fun of each other, and that manner. Yeah, but I feel that the precious part is don't brush it aside, take into hearing what the child shares with you and use those moments to process whether is it the emotions, whether is it the behavior, and whether even sometimes our child has done anything to have triggered this opposite party to make that gesture or say certain things that is not nice in any way or rude in any way, or so-called deemed as a bullying behavior. So this is what you do on a home front. But I guess very practically on the school front, you need to give the child a practical action, to do, so that he knows how to handle the situation. So I often tell parents that, encourage the child, if at that moment he or she really doesn't feel good, it's okay to walk away. You don't need to scream back, you don't need to shout back. You can just tell the friend straight up in the face that you don't appreciate what he or she said, and you walk away from the conversation. It's also for themselves to calm down, have a breather. And of course, if he or she still doesn't feel well, or the person just keep pursuing and whatever going on, then I think there's a place to, like what Andrew said earlier, escalate it to the teacher. The teacher may or may not intervene, but at least the teacher is in the know to keep a lookout of the situation, to give a little bit of like a protective covering over the situation too.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, just want to add, because as parents, we know our kids, our children quite well. So anytime you feel that it's no longer making fun and a very superficial thing, especially he's hurt, he's crying, I think you can tell as a parent, like, okay, maybe this time round something different is happening. You just have to email the teacher or just call the school and say, can I speak to Mr. Tan, the form teacher? And then you're not complaining or you're trying to like, hey, who is Jonathan? Jonathan, bullies my child, and then you sort of like jump. So I think not to do that, but just a friendly call and say, hey, my child is quite affected. So by raising the awareness, right, the teacher will actually take more notice of like what's happening in the class, and could even talk to Jonathan and Jonathan, let's say the bully, and your child. So make aware. By doing that, right, if it's a real case, then it's good, right, that you step in. And secondly, as I shared with Alex this afternoon, is that bully always look for someone, a victim that is powerless, a victim that is quiet, a victim that doesn't complain, and a victim that has no backup. So they grow more and more powerful, because they grow more and more bold, because this particular boy that I bully or girl has no one with him, no one to stand for him. So I'm going to continue to get this guy. But if he starts to bully another person, the next thing is that there's a friendly call by the parent, and then the teacher will come and say, can I talk to you, Daniel and Jonathan? Say, oh, I received a call from Daniel, parent, Daniel is my son, yesterday or email. So what happened? So it's a very non-judgmental. The teacher is just trying to find out. But this real bully actually had the intention to bully, will now think twice, 3 times, 4 times already. Say, I better pick another target. So the earlier action that you take, the better it is. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. So to bring everything in the light, right? As a parent, if we receive some complaint, we use our discernment, but all the same to encourage victims to bring everything in the light so that there is a protector. Yeah. Next, we want to address the issue of trauma that victims may face. And maybe I'll take the question to Jocelin, as a mother who needed to journey with your daughter when she is feeling traumatic. How did you go about doing it? And what did you find helpful to journey alongside a victim of bullying?
When Gina shared with me about what happened to her, well, we adopt the same style during my mom would tell me, it's not really, it will pass, just endure it. But I actually shared with her my experience of being bullied in school and how I overcome it. And we always, whenever she shared with me, we do a prayer. I'm glad that I have a group of brothers and sisters prayed together with me and help her. And she, at least whenever she's bullied, she always know the first thing she has to do is I do my prayer.
That's great. EJ, do you have anything to offer when it comes to helping victims cope with the trauma of being bullied?
Yeah, thanks, Alex, for the question, and I appreciate Jocelyn sharing. In my journey counseling young people over the last 15 years, I've counseled a few who are the victims, and I would say the recovery from trauma to each has its own journey, and we cannot do a cookie cutter approach. So, but most importantly, you need to so-called minister, pay attention to their emotions because they are hurt. And usually, if it's really a trauma case, they probably would have taken some drastic measures on their own. I have seen cases where there's self-harm that's being involved, or they are retaliating and hurting others, because the only way they know how to cope with bullying is to throw it out on other people. So there's damage and there's harm being made. So in that process of recovery, it is really giving them that space, So I do a lot of, most of the time it's really one-to-one counseling, whether using a CBT, whether is it using art therapeutic kind of approach, but just to really find out what is the root issue, behind it. Maybe it was tied to past traumatic cases that's happened to them, but giving them that space to bring forth their emotions, how they really feel, and you talk about it. And really, there's no way to rush this approach, and if there are certain junctures where you need to pause and involve other people who can bring therapeutic healing in a sense to the child, maybe it's the parent, maybe because the child approached for help, but the parent just brushed him or her off, and maybe you need to pause there and get the parents in that moment to come in, and to share about the scenario, how that itself has probably caused the child a certain sense of hurt or trauma too. Yeah, so move alongside together with the child in that recovery, and at a time when he or she is ready, there can be possible next steps, of course, of action to take, be it to encourage the person to speak with the people of authority in the school if that's where the bullying has happened, or further restorative steps like addressing the bully, or the people around who have refused to step in to help. So there are many different possible methods going forward, but it all starts with paying attention to the emotional state of the child.
Thanks, EJ. If I could press in on what you have shared, what if our children, our child is the bully? How do we support a child who is the bully? What advice would you give, and what are some of the things that we should be doing?
Thanks, Carol. That's a good question I get asked a lot. And a lot of times I realize that every one of us has a story behind our behavior. And so when you see a child is a bully, there is a story behind why he or she becomes a bully. And I want to tap on the wisdom that Andrew has shared earlier about the power imbalance. You know, the bullies are right now displaying that power imbalance onto others. A lot of times likelihood is because in the past, they have experienced that and they were most likely the victim, you know. So there's this famous quote that always say, hurt people hurt others. There wasn't any closure from their previous past issues. And the best way of, if I could say, the best defense moving forward in their life is to offend. You know, I offend others so that people don't come and disturb and kacau me. You know, so that's usually, and most of the cases I've seen is there, it tends to avoid. So talk to the child. You have to spend a lot of time talking to understand what are some of the griefs or the hurts and the trauma that he or she that resulted in he or she taking that step to be a bully, you know, and what is the motivation behind it. Yeah.
Thanks, EJ. Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, I just want to add what EJ has mentioned. Let me describe you real life cases of bullies, exactly what EJ has mentioned. The first one is a girl that in the secondary school that I was teaching in. Parents are both divorced and both remarry after some time, and they have their own family and children. She's in between. And she tries to live with the mother said, I have my own family right now. So she's not wanted by the mom. And somehow, or rather, the mom doesn't like this particular girl. And she goes to the dad says, I have my own family right now. So she lives with the paternal side, the grandmother. And almost every other day, the grandmother will tell her straight in the face, I don't like your face. You know, it's a heartbreaking story, but it's true. And what does she do? She has to find other people to bully and give her lots of trouble. You know, second story is a guy, he's secondary 2 when I was a DM. The father is 83 years old, you know, got married, so to speak, with a domestic helper, and then, you know, gave birth to him some time ago. So the mother is just like 30 years old and with a boyfriend that is 20 years old. And even after the divorce, you know, so he has a father who is 87, the mom is 30, and the mom 30 has a boyfriend 20 years old. Okay, then the third one very quickly is three boys, father and mother in DRC, you know, so they have to live in orphanage. So these are the real family issues sometimes this bully comes from. So do empathize, do pray for them that, like what EJ has mentioned, they have their own stories. No one wants to be a real bully and to victimize others. You know, so they have their own hardship and journey to walk on. So don't, you know, like pass a judgment, like as if you are a judge. Yeah, these bullies are terrible, and we sentence this child to condemnation. Right? There's no condemnation in Christ Jesus, right? And also, you know, only He can judge, not us. We don't pass judgment. We can make judgment that, oh, it's so tough, you know, why you want to bully my child, but don't pass and sentence the bully, you know. So do have a heart to pray and to empathize. And then the other thing I think I want to mention is I feel so far in my experience as a discipline master and DP, the best way to heal the trauma and the hurt is when the bully realizes that he or she is in the wrong and sincerely over time apologize to the victim. We adopt this thing called restorative practice. I'm sure EJ and some of the counselors here will know. You know, you can Google. We sort of like, you know, went for the course, the training, and then we actually practice it. And it sort of resonate with the school that I was in, that we want to restore that person, whether the bully or the victim, in terms of their self-esteem, confidence, healing, and all that. And then to restore the relationship, you know, that they once had. You know, let's say they had a good relationship and then they break off and all that. So we actually went through quite a lengthy process of counseling the victim, the bully, meet up with the family, and then later conduct a few sessions where we had the bully, the victim, and their families in a restorative practice, like a circle. And then we talk about the feeling, why she's hurt, why he bullies him or her. But that is only when they are ready, then you come together. And usually it ends up in tears, you know, myself, the principal, the whole family, the bully and the victim, and then finally apologize. And there must always be an apology and given out, and there must be an acceptance, because the bully may not accept. So we will not push for it. We'll say, you're not sure, you think about it. So 1-2 weeks later, we come back and he or she may, I'm ready, I will accept your apology. So there must be an apology, given out willingly. There must be an accepting of apology. But again, it's not, we don't live in a perfect world, right? Only when we go to heaven. So the scar is still there, there's still hurt, but there's restoration and the child can move on in life many, many times better than if there's no such exchange or restoration taking place. But like what I shared, Alex, I had a motorcycle accident 25 years ago. Really very bad accident, and the scar is still there. So, the scar can be seen there and all that, but the healing has taken place here and my right. You have been hurt once, but it's healing, but just that the scar is still there. You always remember. Yeah, so that's what I want to share.
Thanks, Andrew. No, that was really good. We want to get a little practical now, just with the day-to-day happenings as you were getting bullied. And I want to refer to Slido. The top question actually has got, how do we stand up to bullies in an appropriate manner? How do we get the courage to call out bullying right on the spot and not ruminate on it and not voice it out? So this is about the timeliness of calling it out, timeliness of intervention. Do you have some handles to offer? Let's say EJ, we'll start with EJ, and then Jocelyn, it would be good to hear from you as well. How long do you think Jaina had been subject to bullying, before it was actually called out? Yeah, EJ, sorry.
Thanks, Alex, for the question. Standing up to bullies in an appropriate manner. One thing when I was in my journey of standing up against bullies, or even right now when I counsel young people standing up to bullies, we tend to often focus on the person, and because it irks the hell out of you, the person, because the behavior, up to now today, I can still remember the face of the bullies, their expression, but actually, we must also understand that we are addressing, when we stand up, we are stopping the behavior of the person, and we need to stop that behavior of the person. So just by being confident, and again, I use that quote that Andrew mentioned a lot, is the imbalance of power. You need to stop that imbalance of power over flooding you, because once you let it overcome you, then they will just keep overriding you. So you need to literally just take on that courage and just tell them to stop, that. And what is it about his or her behavior that you don't appreciate? Is it because certain words like vulgarities that they use, because it is spreading something that is not correct about you, something false, in the sense falsehoods that about you? So call out the behavior, okay? Because at the heat of the moment, it is very easy to jump into calling out and attack a person. You are, you this, you that, but actually what we want to zoom in straight on is the behavior of the person who is offending you. Of course, it's easier to say, but in the heat of the moment, it's really not easy, but it definitely takes, I hate to say this, but practice, in a sense. When it happens to you, you just have to, and I think that's when the mentorship and the education from adults, whether parents or educators, come in. Address the behavior, and after that, really, you've said what you said, pull back, walk away with you need friend support right now, because if you walk away by yourself, you get chased down and hunted down by, especially if it's a bully in the group, they will continue to hound you and taunt you and all that. But walk away to a trusted group of friends, that can protect you, that can be a little bit of like immediate safe haven. All right, then you continue to look for other safe havens as well, be the parents who can address to your educators, or in school there are other educators or counselors that you can speak to. Now, I must say that this happens for every age range, whether your child is in primary school, secondary school, or even in the preschool, or even in the workplace as well. Yeah.
I love it. So the question I've got for parents tuning in today is, do your children, without the shadow of a doubt, know that you've got their backs? if they ever encounter any adversity, any bullying in school, do they know that daddy or mommy has got my back? And will they, or will they simply dismiss what I'm about to tell them and I've got no one? That would be a tragedy. That would be a true tragedy. And I think what really impressed me about what you guys are sharing and what Andrew, you were saying about restorative practice as well is that willingness to keep following to bring a closure, which is a real challenge in today's world, right? When everybody is busy and distracted, to stay the course with one student, with one family, with one case in order to bring it to closure. And it's not complicated, but it still takes that staying power, that care factor, right? Anyway, Jocelyn, do you have any perspective to share about responding to bullies?
What I do last time is I actually make friends with the bullies of Jana, and I even friends their parents, because in a bowling competition, usually when the girls are competing, we are standing behind supporting. So I try to make conversation with the parents and try to find out why a little bit about the character of their kids. And I try making friends with the bullies, those people who bully Jana, by maybe make an effort, sometimes send them home after their training, or maybe buy them some bubble tea when they finish their training, so that then try to make the relationship, so when Jana try to talk to them, at least they are not set defensive.
That's great. Thank you. So I just want to, I feel like I need to ask this question to Andrew, to EJ. I've heard this saying, bullies respond to strength. Is there any truth in that? Bullies respond to strength.
It depends on how we interpret this, you know. The strength means, you know, whether is it resistance, you know, if someone of a bigger size, so to speak, comes and as a protector, then they will respond because there's someone stronger coming and they will respond in a way that they will run away. Or you may be, you know, it depends how we interpret this particular quote, you know. So they respond to strength, or it could be, I don't know, I'm not very sure how we want to interpret this.
Yeah, I guess it's what you guys have been talking about, to call out that infraction, right? To call out that offense. Right. And what EJ was saying, not to get personal with the attack, but just to point out what is it the bully is doing that you do not appreciate, so that this imbalance of power does not persist, right? So that you're not somebody that he or she feels like he or she can pick on forever, indefinitely. Yep. And you speak out and you have a voice. Perhaps that we have strength that we're able to turn the other cheek.
Yeah, I would say that I think for
Carol,
bullies, although
next question.
I think although they appear strong, you know, like big bullies, they're actually very weak and they lack a lot. They're asking for help. So they are not really very, very strong in that sense. Yeah, but they are asking for help, crying out for someone to recognize me and to give me the attention and the security that I have. So yeah, just want to share this part about bullies.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. One of the comments in Slido comes from someone who has been bullied and who has been negatively impacted in terms of mental well-being because of the bullying. And he's asking, you know, how do you resist the temptation to lash back at the bullies and take revenge, you know, at the moment when it happened? What are some of the practical things that we can take note of? Perhaps EJ, you know, as you went through your journey, what are some of the emotions that you feel, and what are some of the things that you need to tell yourself to, you know, manage those emotions at that moment better?
Yeah, to whoever posted this question, I would like to give you a digital high five. I felt the same way as you when I was in my university years, when I told you I encountered bullying, right? My apologies, I wasn't a goody two-shoe then, because I reached that peak where I lost it. enough was enough, and I became the bully. So I retaliated because I had really had enough. So I fought back online. I tit for tat. So you are the imposter, and you set up fake accounts to go against me. I will go on a full-on attack mode against you. So I literally used my own personal account and went berserk on the social media. I don't look berserk now. I am much more composed today. But I just want to share this to let you know that what you went through, to whoever who posted this question, I can really empathize with you, and it's very real. On the spot when it happened, you just really want to retaliate, and that's the easiest response, But after, because I want to feel a sense of control, I can control and manage the situation. But little did I know that after I did all those things, when I went berserk online and did all this nasty, I became a bully myself. Did I feel better? Yes, maybe part of it, I felt I got my revenge. But when I look at the mess that I created around, I felt even more out of control because I had to do a lot of damage control in a sense, answerable to people who around who knew me. People were conflicted. Why is EJ behaving like that? And there's a lot of confusion happening. So I came back to this point. I realized that when something as such happened, a negative incident or something like that made you didn't feel good, traumatizes you, what we immediately want to look for is a central point where we can have control, and so of course to find control, retaliating immediately is the easiest, but is there an alternative way? So I grew from that journey, and I realized that, actually what I needed is control. Is there other ways I can find control? After walking away, maybe I can take a walk to calm myself down. Maybe I can pen down in my notebook, in my journal, what I really was feeling, the frustrations that I was really feeling. I write it down, or I go and talk to somebody. But basically coming to a place where whatever I do, I feel a sense of control, but I don't do damage to, unwanted damage to the people or the situation around. So I think just to want to acknowledge that point, that emotions are real, but and also realizing what we need is control, emotional control maybe. And you don't always need to find emotional control in retaliation. There are other, I would say, positive ways that would do benefit to your mental well-being as well.
Thanks, EJ. If I could press in a little bit more on this, there's a similar question in Slido also, but this relates to an 8-year-old. How can parents help an 8-year-old to be mentally strong to take any negative stuff that comes at a child? Because you talk about a lot of the emotional control, it might be easier for those who are older, but for those who are younger, what would be some of the practical things that families can support their children in?
Yeah, a good question. So the younger they are, because they are still maturing in that cognitively, emotionally as well. So it's important that parents come alongside to help process some of their emotions and do things together with them to find that sense of control, or a place where they could just ventilate or articulate, or in young people's terminology, ranting, get the emotions out, the frustration, get them to air it without a sense of judgment. Okay. And I've known many parents when I do counseling with them, I leave them in the same room after we address the issue, and I give them that about 15 minutes or 20 minutes of time. They were just doing things together. Sometimes it's jigsaw puzzle, sometimes it is watching a particular show together, but just having that time and space together. And after that, they could talk, they could relate about that particular topic. Sometimes we play conversation starters, get them to talk and get them to discuss on issues and topic. But I think that doing together, just your presence, parents, your presence together with them, also give them that sense of assurance, stability, and to them is important. The younger they are, they need to feel that sense of structure, that sense of security and stability from a trusted pillar, in this case, parents. But if you think about it, if the stance that we take is to question them, to doubt them, to belittle them, then I think we are not giving them that sense of control. We are making them feel more and more out of control. So actually, for this particular parent, if you're asking for your 8-year-old child, I think don't rush, but your presence, doing things together, maybe sometimes even just bring him out for a good meal and having those conversation and chat and allowing him to talk is precious. It's is very important, and don't rush to solutions yet. Sometimes it begins with just offering that non-judgmental listening posture.
Parents, I hope you're all taking notes and you're listening, and you're going to practice what EJ is suggesting tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening, this coming weekend, just to really solidify and strengthen these bonds of bonding with your children and within the family. And that is often so healing and such a stable foundation that we can operate out of. Thank you, EJ. Andrew, can I come to you? I want to address unresponsive system in the school. So, I mean, not every school is like Geylang Methodist. Not every school has a discipline master like yourself. Some teachers, due to being overwhelmed or just being too busy, sometimes just gloss over some of these issues that parents may raise. So can we get practical here? What would you say to parents who have raised their concern once, maybe twice, to the school, to the teachers? What else can they do?
Okay, maybe I'll add to what EJ has mentioned, but it's related to what you shared as well. So very quickly, it's about the analogy of, in the bank. When you go to the bank, it's either you can withdraw your money or not. And how much you have in the bank will also, give you that kind of financial security. So same for our own children, is that the amount of time we spend with them, talking to them, loving them, is like putting a deposit, deposit money into your kid. So because I think the earlier question was how can an 8-year-old, 10-year-old be able to, build that resilience? It depends a lot on parents. Parents are the one who, ang pao money, insurance you buy for them, education, you save up for them, right? So it's parents who put in the money into the bank. So same, the resilience of your child and the confidence of your child, the security of the child depends on the parents. Because they have nothing, they're just so young. They can't put it in themselves. As parents, you must put in the money. You have to put a deposit every day so that when they come to this kind of challenging situation, they have a lot to draw from. They have a lot of money. Your child has a lot of money. You go to the bank, he has a lot of money because you've saved for him for over 8 years, So that's one. And then the other thing that I want to share would be involved. And this is related to what Alex is asking me. Join the parent support group. If you want practical ways, join the parent support group. I run parent support group in my previous 2 schools. The more involved you are, the time that you're given, not just to attend Dads for Life, Moms for Life events, but also get involved in, helping out in certain National Day events, certain study nights. It helps a lot. Okay, so like what Alex is asking, how do you, so to speak, go straight into the leadership to have some direct access to the teachers, to the HOD, to the principals? Sign up for the parent support group, especially men, because in every school, 80 to 90% are women and mothers. So we are the dads, the protector of the family. You have to join. So you have to be practical, don't talk about like how to do this, how to do that. Practical step, tomorrow, sign up. And then get in touch with the PhD, get involved. Once in a while, appeared in school. Because of COVID, I think there's less activities. But just by doing that, your child will feel that you want to be involved. You know what's happening, like National Day is coming, right, in August. And then when is the prelims? When is this? When is that? And then after that, you tell your child, hey, Daniel, tonight I have a parent meeting, I'm going to meet Mr. Tan, who is in charge of PhD. Then, oh, your principal was there. And then such a nice guy, Mr. Tan, So you're very involved. You can bypass all your emails, this and that. You're in a WhatsApp chat group where the principal and the VP, they are there. Your DM is there. Your HOD is there. And then you become more and more active. Your child will know that, hey. So actually, it's quite easy, in terms to answer Alex's question, is just be there and contribute. You don't have to be there every day. Contribute according to what you can give, because you might be very busy, earning bread and butter and all that. But just by signing up and once every few months attend the Zoom meeting or the physical meeting, is already a huge practical step. And I must say that it's a must for parents. I've done that for my kids. So either that's for a live activity, join the committee, I've given talks. So I was former soldier and then also police and all that sort of experience. So I gave some career talk on how to be a policeman, be a SAF commando and whatnot. So then my kid was there and saw, me on the stage talking about being a SAF or being a police and all that. So be involved. You will definitely get direct access to the principal.
So good. So tomorrow, everybody go and sign up for parent support group. Go and join Dads for Life, and now got Mums for Life. Okay, yeah, come and join and really be connected, right? And so that you can, get to know your child's world much better. If I could press in on Andrew's point, right? So even if, let's say, we get super involved in our schools as much as possible, as much as our schedule permits, but what if something happened to my child, but my child don't want me to tell the teacher, or don't want me to approach because my child might be scared? And so how can I talk to my child, right? When I see that this is clearly something that's bothering him or her, but she really don't want, she just say, "Mommy, never mind, it's okay. Don't tell the teacher, don't tell the teacher." Then how? Perhaps Andrew
Right.
and then EJ could weigh in on this.
Okay, very quickly. One would be first, definitely respect, and not insist and letting your child feel that you're not respecting him or her. Also, depending on the severity of the bully, right? So it is a lot of factors. In fact, if your child can say this, that means he or she tries and want to manage the situation, and it could turn out be very good. He develops resilience, and then after that, it's fine. But if this thing presses on and it gets worse, you have to, convince your child that you have to see the teacher. So I think there's too many variables and factors, but definitely respect. And then at the same time, if you feel something not too right, convince your child that you have to see the counselor, or at least raise the awareness to the teacher. Or if he still feels that no, don't, for whatever reason, because sometimes if you are victimized, right, you really want to shut yourself out. But the fact that he tells you and you know about it, and you feel that maybe after 2-3 weeks, something not quite right, you can always have a secret conversation with the teacher and say, "Mr. San, I need to speak to you, but don't tell Daniel. I just want to tell you that there's this thing happened. Maybe just keep a lookout, So I feel we don't really have to yield and just follow everything your child says. If you, as a parent, feel that you need to do something, but yet you are still respecting him, I feel it's entirely fine to tell the teacher to just keep a lookout and then, move on from there. Yeah, that's my practical advice, so to speak.
Thank you, Andrew. EJ, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I feel behind the refusal to share is often another set of reasons. A lot of times it's because of fear, maybe because previously other friends or they've encountered similar situations, they shared with the teachers, but no actions were taken, or the bullies escalated their behavior, and that threw another curveball and shocked the victim. And so now when it happens, they will just retreat back and say, no, don't intervene. The more adults try to intervene, it just makes it worse. At least you don't intervene, it just stays status quo. It doesn't get worse. But the more you intervene, it gets worse. So I think there are different permutations. But of course, giving that child that safe space and say that, hey, if you really don't want us to intervene, all right, but maybe you can share what you're doing to protect yourself, what your active measures. So to assure us, say, mommy and daddy also needs assurance that your well-being, you're doing active steps to take care of it. So can you share with us what you're actually doing? So I think that is one aspect that you can have those conversations with your friends. And I think the other one is availing other opportunities. So say, hey, maybe we are not the best people at this time. You would like to share with. Is there somebody, you can talk to your cousin, if you need an outlet, you need a place to get some ideas, solutions, refer to someone within the trusted community. I think this really lives out what we always talk about, right? It takes a village to raise a child, a trusted village. And, in this trusted village, there is the cousin, mentors, people around that they can talk to look for ideas or so-called solutions.
That's great. Thanks, EJ. Jocelin, I want to come to you because earlier you spoke about also a community coming around to help Jaina, and you also mobilizing people around, in prayer and in support, emotional support. We've got a question here. In what capacity can church workers and volunteers establish a presence for, in this case, dysfunctional families? But I'm guessing that they can also be part of that village that EJ just talked about. So I guess the question is, in what capacity, what has church workers and volunteers done that you found helpful?
Actually, for me, it started with my cell group, and those people in my cell group, Gina knows them quite well. So before I shared her case for them to pray for us, I have her consent. Just like I attend this talk today, I have a consent that I'm going to share her problem, and I get her approval to get them to also pray for her. So I think with that, who even I shared with her the list of people that are involved, then and we set a time, always like one day of a week, a certain time, just doing the prayer with her, and she was together with our prayer too. And I think is that I would like her to really work by faith, not by sight, actually, when I do that. And I always tell her, when you have encountered some problem, God will never allows pain without a purpose. And if this is really put in her life, it's because there is something God want her to learn. And maybe because of the experience that she gained through this, and she can overcome in the future, she can help others with the same experience. And I see that comes true right now. When she was 21, she's helping children like 12 years old or even in the secondary. How could they overcome when they are bullied? How do they keep their faith?
That's great. You know, I think this reminds me also of this continual engagement, right? It's actually not that complicated, but family members, church workers, friends coming around to offer concrete areas or concrete actions of support. I think there is something which is quite fascinating, that if you did a Google word search on, say, the word condolence, the way the word has been used has really grown over years. You look for the word compassion, which is likened to mercy, the use of the word compassion has actually reduced and gone down over time. So as a generation, we've gone from being a compassionate generation, someone who actually does something, someone who is actually expressing acts of mercy, to a generation that speaks, right? A generation that offers condolence without any concrete action. So I think this is something that you guys have just come back to again and again, right? To be people who truly care and truly take action, right? And not pay lip service and not just gloss over some of these things that the victims are going through. With that, can I invite Andrew, EJ, and Jocelyn just to share your final encouragement? You could direct it to a particular group of people, but I'd just like to encourage you to share your final encouragement with us.
Okay, I will end, so to speak, with a story. You know, a quick one because we don't have much time, right? You know, in certain tribe in Africa, I think we all know, you know, the nomads and all that. At a certain age, when the boy is like 12 years old, they have to go into the wild. You know, it's like going to NS, you know, are boys to men. You know, so they have this ritual and this transition phase, you know, 2 weeks out in the wild, first time in their life. You know, they have to, you know, experience danger, darkness, poisonous snakes, lions, and all the predators and all that. Okay, so this boy went out after a few days, one week in the dark. Okay, cut the long story short, he went through lots of fear. In the night, making the fire, you know, wolf howling and everything. You know, can you imagine, right, for a 12-year-old boy, first time, you know, to have that kind of transition and ritual to manhood. He has to hunt for animals. He has to live in the night, in the darkness of the night, every day, full of fear. every single day yearning for the father and for the mother to be there, yearning for the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, time. And then he will finally go back home. On the last day, when he fell asleep, he was still panicking, fearful. So again, cut all the drama aside. When he woke up, he saw the father at the top of the tree, and the message is that the father has been there every single day when his boy was out in the field for that 1 month, going through all the danger. He has been there every single night, watching over his son. If any animal dares to touch him, he's going to slaughter any predator and tear it apart. So the story is God, our Heavenly Father, is always watching over us, even though we do not know. So always be assured that He's there. And we as parents, as our children are going through danger, victimized, and all this bullying and study stress and all that, although we don't have to rescue him all the time, right? Because he needs to stand on his own feet, right? But always be there, always be there at the distance, ready to support, ready to pounce on any predators. So this answered the question of, what, if my child, he gets bullied, he doesn't want to, no, it's fine, just be at the distance, but ready anytime. So I think that's the rule of as a parent. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Andrew. EJ?
Yeah, there's so much to talk about this topic about bullying, and but I'd like to let all parents know that bullying is nothing new. It has existed since the yesteryears. Our time, your time, and now with our children's time, maybe the forms are varying. We have cyber right now and all sorts of terminologies and all that. So my encouragement to parents is that never ever belittle the conversations about bullying. This is very real. In fact, it should give us an added avenue to have conversations and talk more about it, because to simply just ignore, it has far more implications, negative implications in a sense than what we thought it would be to help our children, train them in terms of resilience, and all that. Because I think when we just sweep it under the carpet and say ignore it, we oversimplify the issue. We render our children helpless. In fact, we are communicating to them indirectly that there's nothing I can help you. You just have to, in a sense, suck it up, and live with it. But in the long run, we are also teaching them that it's okay. Bullying is okay, and this does not help culture. This doesn't help the narratives, the worldview, what's happening out there in the community. And next time, there's a very high chance that when our children see bullying cases in the community outright in front of them, they might not lend a hand because they were taught this way. So don't shrug it off. Even if your best intention has to be intentionally communicated to our children, to guide them in their emotional development, to guide them in practical steps and handle how they can help themselves so that they in future can better help others too.
Beautiful. Jocelin?
For me, I always tell Jana, you can't control how people treat you, but you can control how you react and how you take it. And I will always be there to give her the fullest support. And I always mention to her, show your empathy to others. They are bullied, maybe they have their story, just like we mentioned just now. And if they will feel your sincerity and that you embrace what they have done wrong to you, they will change one day. And still back to the belief that God will make a way.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jocelin, EJ, Andrew, for just pouring out your heart this evening and sharing just precious nuggets with all of us. Reminders, practical advice that we would really do well to practice, put into practice. Yeah. Maybe before final announcement, if we can just close this time in prayer, can I just invite all of us to just bow our heads in prayer? Lord, we just thank you for this time and just love the story that Andrew shared. And indeed, that is how you're like. That is exactly how you're like. And sometimes your silence must never be interpreted as your apathy or you being indifferent. In fact, you are deeply interested and you care, and you are with those who are being victimized, and you are with those who are being bullied. And God, you are giving us, and you're calling for parents, you're calling for community to arise and to really surround, to really defend, to really be a voice for those without a voice, and to really build in our children and those whom we're discipling, whom we're close to, God, this belief and this resolute assurance that we've got their back, that we are watching over them, that they are precious to us. And God, we just pray that the busyness of life that I know the enemy is also pleased with will not be a feature in our families. That busyness will not get in the way of relationship building. Busyness will not get in the way of conversation. Busyness will not get in the way of worship. Busyness will not get in the way of expressing love. And God, I just pray that everyone who is here tonight, God, will be encouraged, will be challenged just to put these things to practice. Not just to be a hearer of the word, but to be a doer of the word. And building our families, building our children upon the solid foundation that is Jesus Christ. We pray in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, panel members. Before we go, just give me a few minutes to share with you some resources and what's happening next month that you could consider joining. We are sorry that we can't cater to every question tonight. We really want to honor your time. It's getting late. But if you have any other questions or any comments about Salt and Light, or if you have ideas about what we should be covering in future family nights, do feel free to drop us an email at familynight@saltandlight.sg. Okay, we have our family nights every month on the last Tuesday of every month. And so and before I tell you when is the next session, this is a useful resource that Facebook has on their bullying prevention hub. The QR code is there on the screen. You can scan the QR code. It brings you straight to very useful resources. They have got resources for teenagers, for parents, as well as for educators. And if they have done this together with the Yale University's Center for Emotional Intelligence. So it gives you very practical steps of what are some of the things that you can talk to your child about. What are some of the things if it happens online, what are some of the things, for example, taking screenshots, documentation. So I would encourage you to explore this resource when you have time. It's also done in collaboration with Singapore's Media Literacy Council as well. And next month, right, there is a D6 family conference that's happening online. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to happen over 2 days. The first day is going to be Jason Wong and Jillian Lee is going to talk about the importance of worldview education as we raise our children. And then on the second day, Peter Tan, who is a principal in our school, together with Dr. Daniel Fang, is going to talk about how do we balance academic excellence, for the glory of God, and as well as balancing with the mental well-being of our children. And EJ is going to be back at the conference. So if you don't have enough of EJ tonight, you can see him at the conference. He's going to speak at the breakout sessions on both days, talking about confident parenting and family discipleship in an age of unprecedented digitalization. Well, all very big words and very important concepts. So come for D6 topics, and I have the privilege to be able to talk together with my 19-year-old daughter about biblical sexuality and how we can make our home the safest place to have conversation on sexuality. So come and join us. There are many other very interesting topics, including, you know, grandparenting and so on, as well as mental toughness. How can we build mental resilience in our children? So do come and join us on 30th and 31st of July. As I mentioned earlier, all our recordings for family nights is available on Salt and Light YouTube channel. And this particular session will be available next Friday. Okay. Yeah, so can you check out our past episodes as well. So the next time when we meet in July, on 27th July, we are going to talk about how to deal with children who may be drifting away from God. All right. It is rather, unfortunately, a rather common things that we are seeing around. And so we thought of, you know, having this conversation together and how can we support our children in whatever journey that God is taking them. So it's on 27th July. Registration is already open. So just scan the QR code and sign up, and we hope to see you next July. If you have benefited from tonight's session, do support the ministry of Thirst Collective, which is doing a great job in doing Thirst, Salt and Light, as well as Stories for Hope, the different ministries that they are on. You just have to go to your internet banking app and scan the QR code, and we just want to invite you to be part of this ministry, and so that there can be more family nights that can, you know, benefit more parents and more families as well. So thank you so much for making time tonight, everyone. And before we go, I'm going to open the chat as well for us to, you know, if you want to thank the panel members, feel free to send your appreciation. But I would like to invite you to share what is the one thing that you have learned from tonight's session. Right? What is the one thing that God has spoken to you tonight? Can I encourage you to put into the Zoom chat, right? And if there's any encouragement that you want to give to fellow participants, I would invite you to also pen it in the Zoom chat, okay? Can everyone put into the chat, what has God spoken to you tonight, right? Thank you, Kelvin. Right, God is always watching over us. Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to unmute and say thank you to the panelists directly, you are able to unmute now to say thank you. And I want to thank you so much for making time for Salt and Light Family tonight. So stay safe. The session is formally over. Yeah, just leave your comments, your appreciation, your learning point, and we hope to see you again in July.